So we'll see.
I watched your show. It was a good show. It was a good penultimate episode for your season one. As most people know, sometimes the second to last episode of the season in a drama or comedy is better than the finale itself. And I thought you lived up to that tradition. So well done there. But I watched it and I came away with some questions based on your analysis. And some of this stuff were questions that you had, and some of these questions I bring up as a way to refute some of the points that you made or disagree a bit with the points that you made. So I'm gonna jump in right off the top with this first one
Okay.
because you break down all the men's teams and you have all these
Yeah.
conditions. And it was like a
Yeah.
math problem. If A, then B. If A and B, then C. If A and B and C, then D. It was an LSAT sort of situation there. I was having flashbacks. But the team that you put up top, because they're number one, is Oklahoma State. And you basically say, if they all have A races, they're going to win. They're going to win. And everything else follows from that. And if they don't, then the door opens for NAU. And then if NAU has an issue, then the door opens for the next team and the next team and the next team and so on. And I know that you're big on Oklahoma State. But is an A race really going to be enough? That's my biggest question. Because it's possible to have A plus races. And I think a team like NAU, if you go through all their guys, what does an A or A plus race look like for Nico Young? Well, it's top 3. What does that look like for Nur? That's top 5. What does that look like for Bosley? I think that's legit top 15. Kusha, Raff, Quacks. We could keep going on and on down the list of the rest of their guys on their roster. I think they could get Oklahoma could have a really good day and still get beat by NAU. But you disagree. Defend yourself,
I do
Gordon.
disagree.
Defend
Okay. So
yourself.
first of all, an A day for Young, Nur, and Bosley is like all of them top 15. So you can't really go to an A plus for Nur, Young, and Bosley and have that much of a difference. I mean, Nico Young going from 5th to 1st, whoop-de-doo, your team scores 4 less points. Abdi Nur, whoop-de-doo, your team scores 5 less points. Drew Bosley, I have him ranked 11th. So if he has an even better day, whoop-de-doo, he's scoring 5 less points. It's not that big of a deal. So if you look at my top 250 rankings, I have their 3 NAU guys all in the top 11. And then I have George Kusha finishing 107th. I have Theo Quacks finishing 130th. Ryan Raff and Brody Hasty finishing the 160s. So there's a huge drop off after 3. Whereas Oklahoma State, this is where I have them finishing 6, 24, 46, 50, 61, 96. So if you add them up, I have Oklahoma State scoring 187 points.
Mm-hmm.
This is raw score to 260. So I have about like a 70-point cushion.
Yeah.
So even if Kush and Quacks all finishing like in the 50s, it's not going to be enough because if Oklahoma State just does what they're supposed to do, which is have 1 in the top 10, 2 in the top 25, probably 3 in the top 40, 4 in the top 50, 5 in the top 60, Nur, Young, and Bosley can't lower that score much because they're already in the top 11. So I just don't see NAU being able to lower their score enough against Oklahoma State.
Okay.
Because their
So
top 3
basically,
guys are already low enough.
right. So basically, you're conceding 1 through 3, NAU is the strongest, but Oklahoma State is going to win it on 4 and 5. I
Yeah.
think Oklahoma State's good and obviously a threat to win this thing. I just have a little bit more belief in NAU's 4 and 5 than you do, because if you talk about an A race for George Kusha, this is a guy who's Big Ten cross champ. This is a guy who's gone and battled Oliver Hoare for years at Nebraska. He's got some dog in him. And I don't think goes all the way to Flagstaff. He's got one job, right? We don't need you to be top 10, George. We don't even need you to be top 20. Just run a solid 33rd, and then we are in business. And then you have to have one of the following 3 guys hit, assuming they run the 7. Either Raff, Hasty, or Quacks. Just needs to hit. Again, Brody Hasty has been All-American before, correct? So an A day for Brody Hasty would be All-American again. So now we're back to NAU having their whole scoring squad in the top 50. I think the back half of their lineup doesn't need to be spectacular because their front half is. And I think because of that, they have more of a chance than you're giving them credit for.
They 100% have a chance. I'm not saying they don't. Like, I do see scenarios where Brody Hasty finds the magic and finishes 50th or 40th, or George Koosh finishes, 35th. That can happen. But when you look at what they've done lately, like when you look at the head to head, when Oklahoma State raced NAU, if you actually look at the results, even though NAU beat Oklahoma State at the Cowboy Jamboree, what was the score? 40 to 62 points. Oklahoma State didn't run Shea Foster, who's going to be an All American. They were unattached with Roy Leonard, who probably is going to be one of their top 7 guys. But also, Oklahoma State's like projected 3-4 in that race were like way out and clearly not running what they're capable of because Ryan Smeaton went on to, be top 5 at Big 12s, top 5 at regionals, so he
Mm-hmm.
showed that he's not going to finish 30th in a dual meet type race. So what I'm trying to say is like Oklahoma State, we just are people aren't recognizing Oklahoma State because they didn't run at Nuttycombe or Prenats. And it's kind of hard to look at what they did at Big 12s. Regionals you kind of can throw away because regionals doesn't matter at all. But look at what they did at Big 12s and you kind of like, what does this mean? I'm just saying, like, Oklahoma State is actually in a better driver's seat than NAU is. When you look at the time back of NAU's 4 and 5, even when you look at NAU's 4 and 5 at the pre-nats, let's look at this. So let's assuming Drew Bosley finishes 15th, right? We're gonna do quick math here. So Drew Bosley was the number 3. In this case, Nico Young was the number 3 runner. So Nico ran 23:12 at pre-nuts. Okay. George Koosh ran 23:24. So he was 12 seconds back of their third runner. And Theo Quax was 14 seconds back. Right?
Yeah.
What is
That's a
12
winning
seconds and
formula.
14 seconds? 12 seconds and 14 seconds back of a, let's say, 20th place finish at NCAAs. So I'm going to bring up Abdi Hamid Nurs. I'm doing quick math. Let's go to what finished the time of 20th was 30:25. Let's go 20 seconds back. But okay, you can't do that because it's an 8K and a 10K. So you have to go a little more. So you have to add another 20%. So you should probably do 30 seconds back. You start getting into like
Okay.
the 50s and the
I get that.
60s.
Listen.
You know,
You score 5, and you can say, oh,
yes.
those 3 don't have anywhere to move up, so it's not a big deal based on how they run. But it's still an aggregate total of 5 runners. That's what it is. Let's not overcomplicate these things. And I think they have fewer questions to answer because they're so confident in their 3. And their 3 is better than Oklahoma State's 3, which I think you'd agree with. So it leaves them with 4 options for those final 2 spots. It's a good position to be in. Could it be better? Absolutely. If Farrow came back or Grijalva came back, we'd be having a completely different conversation about this. But I think they're still in a good spot.
Oh, I agree with you. NAU is in a great spot. They need help. And I think denying that they don't need help, I think is bad to like just assume
Here's
if they run the
the
race, they're
problem
going to
with your
win
argument.
because
Here's a problem with your argument, though. You're taking the fact that Oklahoma State didn't run at the most competitive weekend of the year and giving them bonus points for that and saying that's an advantage. When
no,
if they ran that weekend, yes, because if they ran that weekend, they would have gotten pushed and maybe they would have gotten beaten and maybe they would have shown some vulnerabilities. You just said that regionals didn't count. Yeah, they did well in conference. But so we're pulling all this off of one data point, and then you go back to the jamboree, which is now ancient history. And this person didn't run, that person didn't run. They're training through. We don't know a lot about Oklahoma State. I get it; they're the hot, sexy pick for you, but we don't use the fact that they didn't run as evidence that they're going to do better than people who actually did run.
I'm not using it as evidence. What I'm using it as is um, you have to look at George Kush, Theo Quacks, and Brody Hasty, all right, and Ryan Rath, and you look
Rath.
at those four guys' resumes. They have holes in them. They aren't like solid.
Yeah, but
Like
so
George
does the
Kush
Oklahoma.
finished like 240th. Get no Oklahoma State
You're
doesn't have
acting
those
like
holes.
Oklahoma State.
Jay
No, no, you're acting like
Foster
Oklahoma.
finished
You're acting like Oklahoma State has
finished.
5 Isai Rodriguez's on their team. They have one Isai Rodriguez. Are the other guys good? Yes. Can they deliver? Yes. But they have vulnerabilities too. They're not invincible.
They don't have guys who are finishing 150th at the national meet. Like
Well, some of the well, okay, that's fine. But NAU has run in a bunch of national meets though, and has run
yeah, but
freshmen in a
like
bunch of national meets.
but like
I
what
can't believe
does
I'm
George
more
Kush?
pro N. How did I become more pro NAU than you? This is impossible. What is going on?
All right, let me like say
Let's
this right
move
now.
on.
So
No, it's
my
fine.
rankings, whatever, have NAU scoring with when we take out like individual qualifiers, 207 points, and as Oklahoma State scoring 157 points. So I have Oklahoma State with the 50-point head start. So if Oklahoma State does exactly what they're able to do, they have a 50-point lead. So that means there's an expectation that George Kush and Theo Quacks are going to run 50 combined 50 points better to like pass Oklahoma State. I just don't think that's
Yeah,
happening.
because you have Kusha at 106th or something. That's a reasonable
I have him
expectation that he
scoring
runs.
83 points. I have him scoring 83 points when we
Okay,
take out
right.
individuals.
I don't think he's going to do that. I don't think Mike Smith thinks he's going to do that. I don't think George thinks he's going to do that. 83 points? No. He can be an All American. That's not crazy.
Okay.
I don't know.
Here's the thing, though.
Why are you burying him so I don't understand. Why are we burying George Kusha so deep here? I don't understand this. Did something happen?
Okay. No, there's just a
Let's look at
lot
his.
of other people that have run better this year than him. And
He got
that
eighth in Big Sky. He got 20th at
eighth
Prenats.
in
He
Big
got
Sky,
well, okay. I'm
Kevin,
looking at his
eighth
resume.
in
I'm just
Big
trying to think.
Sky.
Yeah, he got
You're
13th at
bragging
the
about his eighth
Jamboree.
place finish.
No, I'm reading his results. I'm not giving his accolades.
Oh,
I'm not giving his Hall
okay.
of Fame induction speech here. Let me start at the beginning. Third at the George Kite Classic. Then he got 13th at the Cowboy Jamboree, which I mean counts but doesn't count, I guess. 20th at Prenats, I think is a pretty good result. And then he got 8th at Big Sky, where what was he on their team? Bosley, Young, Christian Allen, Nur, Ricketts, Perrin. So he was the fourth NAU guy. Ran 23:42. Right. I don't get how we put that in the calculator and we come up with he's going to be in the hundreds. But okay,
Because
maybe I'll be wrong.
time is different. Place is different than time. You can finish
I
20th
understand.
in a race, but if 19th place was 30 seconds better than you, like when you added all the other people in the country, there's going to be, you're all of a sudden, the difference between 19 and 20 is not going to be one spot. It's going to be 20 places. And when you
I
added all
understand.
these other people, not everyone and their mom was running at pre-nets. There's a lot of people at Nuttycombe. When you added the Nuttycombe people to the pre-nets people, his 20th place at pre-nets doesn't become 20th. And it doesn't become 40th either because there was an unequal amount of national qualifiers in the pre-nets and Nuttycombe, and they also ran a different pace. So one, the you have to look at the percentages because if one pace was conservative and one pace was hard, you can't just like match them together and second here, second there because
I know how cross country works. You don't need to explain cross country to me. All I'm saying is it's not like you're yeah. Like I would look at that and be like, this guy's falling off the map because I also weighed in what he's done in the past a bit because cross country gives you so little information that oftentimes you have to think, okay, well, this guy's been a solid runner before. I mean, he was what he ran the same time as Garnica at Prenats. Where do you have Garnica finishing?
Garnica? I
28th.
have Garnica
Like
26.
Garnica,
But you know what Garnica does? Garnica's run like 1330, sub
that's
1330 in the
great.
5K.
That's
Like,
great. They're running at 10,000 in this
yeah,
meet. So
well,
we'll see.